Welcome back to Inside City Hall. If she prevails in next week's hotly contested primary in New York's 10th congressional district, Elizabeth Holtzman would be returning to Capitol Hill after a roughly 40-year hiatus. Her experience is part of her pitch, but Washington, of course, is a different place than it was in the 1970s. Our Kevin Frey joins us now with that story. Good evening, Kevin.
It's arguably even more of a different place than it was just about a decade ago. So there has been a lot of transformation. So that was part of the question I had for her when I sat down with her for a little while in Brooklyn today, just asking specifically, can you transfer that experience from then to now?
A reintroduction.
Hi, my name is Liz Holtzman.
I know who you are.
For a familiar face. Elizabeth Holtzman is seeking to return to Congress after shaking up New York politics almost half a century ago, ousting a longtime incumbent congressman to become, at the time, the youngest woman elected to the House. She first arrived on Capitol Hill in 1973 and immediately hit a speed bump.
They put me on the House Judiciary Committee against my will. I was kind of downcast about that.
But of course, it was that chance assignment that would thrust her into a historic spotlight, as the House pursued articles of impeachment against President Richard Nixon. If she does win election, she would join a body still dealing with the fallout of another crisis. January 6th. She offered praise for the special committee investigating the Capitol attack, arguing they seem to have taken a page from their Nixon-era probe.
The American people, or at least the Republicans, wouldn't be paying attention unless they had Republicans speaking to them. And that's what they did. And that's what happened essentially in the House Judiciary Committee during the Nixon impeachment process.
Washington has evolved since she left the Hill, and there are things she'd like to see change, cutting back on money in politics and giving individual committee chairs more power to set their own agendas. Then there's the matter of polarization. Holtzman says building up goodwill through respect is one of the key tools of the trade on Capitol Hill. But with Republicans and Democrats now often at loggerheads, arguably more than ever before, is that toolkit still effective?
I think the skills that I learned and that perspective that I had, while not necessarily 100% transferable, is partially transferable and is useful.
She also explained that, look, some of this is just about being a human, being able to interact with people, make that goodwill, make those sorts of discussions that you can kind of build up the chance to move legislation along. I did kind of jokingly ask her, would you be so opposed to being on the Judiciary Committee this time around? And she said, well, I'd probably give it a little more thought, not immediately say no, no, no.
Right. It'd be pretty wild if she was on the Judiciary Committee investigating Richard Nixon and Donald Trump. But, you know, it's interesting. I was thinking during your piece about Carolyn Maloney and Jerry Nadler, and they tout their experience as an advantage because they have seniority. They have seniority on these committees. They can have an easier time getting stuff done, getting bills passed. And in this case, Liz Holtzman, even though she has the experience, she's not going to have any seniority when she gets to Congress. She would be the same, have the same level of seniority as one of these younger candidates who might be entering for the first time.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, her tenure in the House was not as long by any means in comparison to Maloney or Nadler, who have both been there for about 3 decades. She was there for a little under a decade. So even just from the year's experience, it is not comparable in that sense. But yeah, she would be basically inserted amongst the freshmen, perhaps have a little bit of a leg up because she knows some of the systems. Questionable whether or not her years that she's already served would kind of count toward maybe giving her a little bit of a plus. It remains to be seen.
Yeah, one of the older freshmen, if not the oldest freshman in Congress. All right, Kevin Frey, thank you so much.